Chapter 10 is about the sharing economy, collaborative consumption, and efficient markets through technology. This chapter discusses the relationships between product and service providers with consumers. It discusses the rise of the sharing economy and what it takes to be successful in such a marketplace. The chapter also focuses on the role of large firms in the sharing economy and how they invest in, partner with, or build their own collaborative consumption efforts. Two extremely successful sharing economy firms discussed in this chapter are Airbnb, a hotel-like service, and Uber, a car service. Technology has enabled staggeringly diverse groups of products and service providers to connect with consumers, offering far greater reach and efficiency than traditional markets. These efforts are also enabling a generation of citizen suppliers to go into business for themselves. Most of the internet-enabled market makers can trace their roots back to once pioneering, now massively influential firms like eBay and Craigslist, which empowered all sorts of individual sellers and service providers. Sharing the economy, or collaborative consumption, can involve the recirculation of goods, increased utilization of durable assets, exchange of services, or the sharing of productive assets. These firms fuel more efficient matching of supply and demand, lower costs, enable more efficient resource use, and provide a level of reach and services heretofore unavailable. Today, billions of dollars in commerce is flowing through these marketplaces. Uber is far larger than any cab firm on the planet, operating in over 630 cities in 76 countries. Airbnb had more than 5 million property listings in 81,000 cities, far more than Hilton, the biggest hotel chain on earth, has hotel rooms. A sidebar in your chapter provides some examples of firms often characterized as part of the sharing economy. These applications can allow people to share goods. Pre-owned goods are provided by eBay, Craigslist, and ThreadUp. Craigslist is a peer-to-peer supplier network, and ThreadUp is a firm-owned inventory company. Loaner products are provided by Zillow, Rent the Runway, and Chegg. The difference between the collaborative consumption firms Zillow and Chegg is that Zillow provides inventory provided by participating citizen suppliers, whereas Chegg owns its own inventory. Also in the goods category, Etsy and Custom Made provide custom products. In the services category of sharing economy applications, professional services are provided by Upwork and CrowdSpring. Personal services are provided by Angie's List, Handy, and TaskRabbit. Delivery is provided by DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart, Postmates, and Drizzly. Postmates involves self-employed drivers for restaurant or grocery delivery. Drizzly involves drivers and alcohol inventory owned by suppliers. In the transportation category, Uber, Lyft, and Didi provides transportation services. For example, Didi provides cars supplied by drivers. Also in transportation, loaner vehicles are provided by Turo, which uses a peer-to-peer supplied approach, and Zipcar, which involves firm-owned inventory. Office space is also provided in the sharing economy. Liquid Space and ShareDesk are examples. ShareDesk involves peer-to-peer supplied inventory. You can also get a place to stay using Airbnb, HomeAway, or Couchsurfing, which involves peer-to-peer supplied inventory. You can also borrow money through the shared economy. Lending Club, Kiva, and Prosper are examples of peer-to-peer loans. You can also do crowdfunding through Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and Indiegogo. These are peer-to-peer capital formation applications. Several factors have come together to create a perfect storm for market disruption and market making. Many sharing economy firms were born during a prolonged worldwide economic recession, where stagnant wages have boosted consumer interest in low-cost alternatives to conventional products and services. This encouraged a whole new class of laypeople to try their hand at offering services for hire. Social technologies help allay fears of these people offering services by collecting and sharing ratings, ensuring payment, and offering increased scheduling convenience. Entrepreneurs are scrappy in their quest to gather market intelligence and understand how customers respond to their offerings. Airbnb's CEO gathered additional intelligence on how the firm was being used by living in Airbnb rentals full-time. Regarding the competitive dynamics of most sharing economy marketplaces, ratings represent a switching cost built over time by early participants in sharing economy marketplaces. Network effects should grow over time, favoring firms that got a successful early start over rivals who arrived late doing the same thing. These are two-sided markets. Early on, late-moving Lyft struggled to gain the required critical mass of drivers to attract riders, and vice versa. While Uber's troubles have provided a boost to Lyft, the pink-logoed ride-hailing service is still far behind Uber. The Delete Uber protests enhanced Lyft from 10% to 19% of the U.S. market, but Uber remains comfortable at an 81% share. Marketplaces are especially attractive to citizen suppliers who want to make use of expensive items they've purchased but that are not regularly used. For some marketplaces, end users simply can't be relied on to consistently manage inventory and logistics. In these cases, successful collaborative consumption efforts own inventory to ensure quality and gain more control over the customer experience. Highly fragmented markets are especially ripe for roll-up in electronic marketplaces. Lots of suppliers in a traditional market mean customer search costs are high, but ratings in marketplaces help you quickly size up high-quality providers and make a lower-risk choice. In highly fragmented markets, marketplaces oftentimes extend the value chain by getting between suppliers and customers that would otherwise connect directly. If the network offers value through search and discovery, scheduling, payment, reputation management, and more, then a longer value chain can be a more efficient one. While Drizzly rolls up the fragmented market for booze, ClassPass founder and CEO Payal Kakadia built her firm to do much the same for fitness classes. Word-of-mouth sharing and the virality offered by social media accelerate the growth of sharing economy marketplaces. Firms that can turn customers into brand ambassadors can see lower advertising and customer acquisition costs. Programs where customers receive discounts for sharing the company attracts new customers and builds trust in the company for the new customer. Such programs aren't simply a subsidy to recruit customers. They are a trust-conveying social proof endorsement from an acquaintance that states, "Getting rides from a stranger isn't scary. I do it, and here's money so you can try it too." One study found that 91% of sharing economy participants would recommend the last service they used to a friend or colleague. Lyft provides another good example of using social media to instill trust between drivers and customers. Online provider ratings can provide a lot more insight than you'd get when stepping into a conventional cab or responding to a Yellow Pages ad, but online ratings aren't perfect. Crowdsourced ratings can also reflect the crowd's bias and reinforce discrimination. Allegations in an Uber driver forum suggests that college students rate older drivers lower, male riders give lower ratings to female drivers who don't respond to their flirtatiousness. Drivers with disabilities also experience lower ratings. Fighting this bias is tricky. Lyft doesn't track race or gender out of a desire to be non-intrusive, but the firm will monitor things like request denials. To prevent drivers from denying rides to minority neighborhoods, many ride-sharing firms also don't share passenger destinations until the passenger has accepted the ride, or even is in the vehicle. An Airbnb founder once praised the model of rental firm Zillow, stating, "There are 80 million power drills in America that are used an average of 13 minutes. Does everyone really need their own drill?" Maintaining liquidity in the market, meaning a reliable supply of goods at a fair market rate price, requires a critical mass of both providers and consumers. Lots of people liked the elevator pitch idea, a quickly conveyed business pitch, but not enough people use it. Oftentimes, hearing that you've got a good idea isn't enough to build a good business. Verification of product market fit is critical for all innovators. Instilling trust doesn't mean that firms are without safety issues, and participants in the sharing economy are continuing to evolve their policies as a result. Participating in the sharing economy raises questions for insurers. Some firms offer service providers additional coverage and protection guarantees, but the environment is still fluid. Many local firms also benefit from taxes and regulatory fees from industries threatened by the sharing economy, and groups opposed to new rival efforts can represent very powerful lobbies. Opposition threatened by sharing economy firms is strong. Taxi and hotel owners represent powerful lobbies, and they'd love to see competition from the sharing economy go away. However, not all authorities are opposed. Boston's mayor has voiced support for Uber, seeing it as a safe and popular service among citizens and city visitors. Boston area mass transit has reached out to Uber to improve transportation for people with disabilities, saving the state a potential $47 million a year. Bringing together buyers and sellers can seem like a great business, but dealing with payment collection can cause migraine-inducing challenges. Credit card firms often take 3% or more from any transaction that is accepted, so many firms view payments as a margin-narrowing expense. Firms that run their own payment platforms also risk attack from hackers, vulnerabilities from software bugs and security crises, a complex regulatory environment, and more. Suppliers want to accept payments right away, but fraud is common. WePay is a firm that offers simple payment solutions that specifically targets the challenges of buyer-seller platform operators. The firm has fraud-fighting technology. Adding payment capabilities to any site is an easy mode of cutting and pasting code. While the sharing economy has risen more rapidly than many expected, large conventional firms have also stepped up with investment, partnerships, and experiments of their own, underscoring a broad belief in the power and importance of the space. Here are 8 examples. Google parent Alphabet has invested over $250 million in Uber and $1 billion in rival Lyft. Second, Toyota has made a strategic investment in Uber and struck a leasing deal. Third, GM has invested $500 million in Lyft. Fourth, Volkswagen has invested $300 million in ride-sharing firm Get. Fifth, Apple has invested $1 billion into Didi Chuxing, the Uber of China. Sixth, Rent the Runway has also scored an investment by Condé Nast, the publisher behind Vogue, Lucky, and Glamour magazines. Seventh, Walgreens and TaskRabbit will work together on drugstore deliveries. And eighth, W Hotel has partnered with Desks Near Me. Some experiments will fail to achieve desired results. General Motors canceled its OnStar-enabled partnership with car-sharing service Turo. Some firms will enter as outright competitors. Amazon Home Services Marketplace will put licensed professional as well as small-time citizen service suppliers within the same massive discovery engine where millions search for physical products. Airbnb is now the poster child for the sharing economy. Airbnb allows you to put a single room or your entire property online and become citizen hotelier. Airbnb has raised over $4.4 billion so far, is valued at more than $31 billion, and Forbes declared the firm's founding triumvirate as the first sharing economy billionaires. A guest checks into Airbnb every 2 seconds, and over 200 million have stayed with Airbnb so far. Airbnb has rallied the sharing economy to produce the longest accommodations tail in the lodging industry. The firm's listings include over 600 castles, dozens of yurts, caves, teepees, water towers, clock towers, private islands, lighthouses, trains, environmentally friendly green homes, igloos, glass houses, and more. Airbnb adds big value to both the supply and buy side of a transaction, and it's one of the few large players that can take a cut on each end of the deal. Since trust is vital in Airbnb, no one is anonymous. Guest identity is verified via a 2-step process. Airbnb examines the length an online profile has been up and makes sure it matches additional information provided by the user, such as driver's license and passport. Negative incidents have occurred, and they've gotten the firm lots of unwanted press. Some hosts have returned to find their homes trashed after guests threw raucous parties. The firm reports that significant property claims $1,000 or greater are reported only 0.004% of the time. The firm also monitors to see if hosts are trying to arrange a stay and payment outside of the system. The firm's technology also hunts for signals of fake positive reviews, money laundering, and other scams. Airbnb charges both property owners and guests as part of transactions on their website. Data plays a critical role in Airbnb's success. The firm tracks more than 15 billion events through its website and apps and handles over 15 petabytes of data each day. Says the firm's chief data scientist, Airbnb is a data-informed company. We think data is the voice of our customers. Data helps in helping hosts set prices and tweak offerings for optimal occupation. It's worth noting that in many areas where Airbnb operates, providers of the service are breaking the law. Many municipalities prohibit people from running a business, hostel, or hotel in a residential area or property not zoned for business. Despite operating outside the law, it looks like many cities are looking to rewrite legislation for efforts that ultimately offer many benefits, including added income for local property owners, additional capacity during major events and the high travel season, a bulwark against hotel price gouging, and a mechanism to widen travel and ultimately bring in the economic benefit of more tourist dollars. Uber's commitment to data allows the firm to cut prices, attract new drivers, and grow and expand the firm. Just 4 years after Travis Kalanick co-founded Uber, the San Francisco-based car service was operating in 633 cities in 76 countries worldwide. The firm has already offered a high-end black car service, the passenger-sharing Uber Pool, the low-end taxi competing UberX, and an SUV service, UberXL, and has experimented with all sorts of promotions. At times over the past few years, you could order a helicopter ride via the Uber app, call over a boat, arrange for Christmas tree delivery, cool off your home with an air conditioner delivery, order an ice cream truck, or summon forth a car full of puppies for a cuddle fix. Fast forward to 2019, Uber is now a public company. Founder Kalanick was ousted 2 years earlier, the archetype of the toxic tech founder. After the firm posted a gargantuan $4.5 billion loss pre-IPO, Bloomberg's Eric Newcomer stated, "There are few historical precedents for the scale of its loss." This was followed by a $3.7 billion loss in the quarter leading up to the firm's IPO, the largest ever for a company about to go public. While tech IPOs of Uber caliber are often oversubscribed and bid up for a first-day pop, Uber shares moved in the other direction, resulting in the worst first-day trading drop since 1975. The $5.2 billion quarterly loss was bigger than the annual loss of all but 3 publicly traded firms the prior year. The $5 billion loss is less dramatic when one realizes that most of it was due to accounting for employee stock-based compensation kicking in after the IPO. Without this one-time charge, Uber's 3-month loss would only be $1.3 billion. Of more concern was the firm's slowing growth, decelerating from 58% to 12% across 4 quarters. Uber had raised over $21 billion so far and boasts a private valuation of over $70 billion. Uber did publish 2017 revenues, a figure that came in at about $7.5 billion. The firm has claimed it minted over 50,000 new jobs a month. Nearly all are drivers who are considered independent contractors and not Uber employees. This is another major concern for firms in the sharing economy. Uncertainty around the ability of these firms to continue to consider their workers as independent contractors and not employees. The bar for drivers is high and has grown higher as the firm dealt with crimes against customers committed by its contractor. Each potential driver undergoes a rigorous county, federal, and multi-state background check, the maximum allowed by law. While cars are supplied by drivers, only certain late-model cars are allowed in Uber's fleet, and only then after a company inspection. The amount earned by Uber drivers has been falling steadily from the once trumpeted estimate of $90,766 for a New York City Uber driver. For reference, the average Big Apple cabbie makes just $30,000 a year. Job satisfaction among Uber drivers hovers around 80%. Nearly half of Uber drivers have a college degree, about 2 times that of the overall workforce, with most drivers reporting that they use Uber income to supplement earnings, not as their primary salary. Uber is expanding the overall market for metered consumer transportation by attracting those who wouldn't otherwise take a cab. An Uber-commissioned study claims the firm's impact on the U.S. economy tops $2.8 billion a year. Instead of standing in potentially bad weather, competing with curb-straddling rivals trying to hail a cab for an indeterminate length of time, or phoning a surly human dispatcher who may or may not answer the phone after putting you on hold, Uber customers simply summon their ride with the tap of a smartphone app. Customers can get a fare quote before their trip, and all payment is handled through the app, which even allows fare splitting. Drivers and riders rate each other, keeping both sides of the two-sided market satisfied. City drivers prefer Uber's phone-delivered dispatches to the taxi alternative of having to hunt for fares by driving around scanning sidewalks. Entrepreneurs would describe Uber as a stellar example of product market fit, the magic that happens when market need, weaknesses, and pain points are satisfied by a customer-embraced solution far superior to what is currently being offered. From a service perspective, Uber beats conventional cabs on almost all metrics, with big advantages offered to both drivers and passengers. For example, in January 2016, San Francisco's largest taxi company filed for bankruptcy. Prior to Uber and other ride-sharing services, this taxi company was a municipal monopoly that faced no competition. Uber runs a lean cost of doing business by eliminating human dispatchers, eliminating the capital cost of a fleet, cars are owned by the drivers, not Uber, and working around the expensive medallion system that grants cab rights in major cities worldwide. Customer feedback is also an important aspect of Uber's service. For example, drivers who fall below 4.7 stars on a 5-point scale risk being fired. The downside to Uber is surge pricing. Uber pricing operates on a supply and demand scale. Uber was perhaps the firm seen as most brazenly pugilistic. The firm defied local laws in many cities where it launched. And Uber founder Travis Kalanick, known as TK inside the firm, talked trash to many who challenged his legitimacy. Uber was appreciated by customers who often felt underserved and mistreated by a far less than reliable taxi industry. Early missteps were often tolerated or ignored by the Uber loyal. Problems began piling up. Strikes by drivers, protests by taxi industry, aggressive political pushback, horrendous cases of driver-perpetuated sexual assault, and dishonesty began to be seen as an Uber cultural trait. Rival Lyft also accused Uber of unethical behavior, including calling and canceling Lyft rides to crater the efficiency of its smaller rival. An employee's blog post detailing a culture hostile to women and minorities and her personal experiences dealing with unwanted sexual advances from a manager who was not seriously disciplined made Uber seem to many like a bad fraternity with funding. Some employees wondered if Uber's bad reputation would become a career liability, while prospective employees would think twice about whether this kind of environment was really a smart career move and the kind of workplace where they'd feel valued and given a chance to thrive. A brash, take-no-prisoners attitude was helpful early on, but at some point an ethically challenged subculture emerged and brashness crossed into harassment. As the face of Uber, Kalanick became the face of arrogance, hubris, and defensiveness. A dash cam recording showing him berate a driver made him look overprivileged and dismissive of the drivers that ultimately deliver on the promise of a push-button ride. The firm hired the law firm of former U.S. Attorney General to investigate Uber's toxic culture and to provide a blueprint for change. 20 employees were fired as a result of separate investigations of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. Board member Arianna Huffington was increasingly called on to show the firm was taking allegations seriously. Kalanick announced he was taking an indefinite leave of absence. Shortly after, he formally relinquished his role as CEO. After an exhaustive search where apparently several candidates, including highly sought-after female executives, turned down the position, Uber eventually hired the former CEO of travel site Expedia, Dara Khosrowshahi. The firm's woes continued when just months after Khosrowshahi's appointment, it was revealed that Uber had been hacked a year earlier, exposing personal data on 57 million rides and drivers, that it paid $100,000 to the two hackers in exchange for them destroying the data, and it revealed information about the breach to potential backer SoftBank at least a month before revealing the information to the public. It's unclear just how damaging the fallout has been for Uber. In the U.S., Lyft, with only 29% of the market in the U.S., still remains very much in Uber's rearview mirror. The leader has a 69% share. Network effects may make customers stick with a firm, even if they'd rather not remain, but talent and the fundraising wallet may be far stronger in pushing a firm to recognize and deal with repellent behavior. No system can keep out all negative incidents in a worldwide firm this big, and a company that grows so quickly with such public fascination will likely see an amplification of any bad press. While a criminal cabbie or taxi-caused pedestrian fatality would likely not gain worldwide media attention, all eyes are on Uber and any negative incident seems to make headlines. And there have been horrendous incidents, accusations of price gouging during an Australian hostage standoff, a rape in India, a kidnapping and sexual assault in Boston, a driver hitting and killing a child in San Francisco. A closer look shows that technology actually helps Uber keep a high safety bar and to continue to raise that bar even higher. Committing a crime and taking risks as an Uber driver is incredibly stupid. The app knows who you are at all times, knows who you've picked up and where you took them, and these digital eyes are always on you, with bad performance exposed and customer and drivers empowered to shine a spotlight on what might have been previously hidden. Collectively, this offers a safety bar conventional cabs simply don't offer. Uber continues to invest in new technologies, exploring voice recognition and biometrics to further strengthen driver verification, and implementing a panic button linked to emergency services, and a setting that allows loved ones to monitor your ride. The Uber staff constantly optimizes algorithms powering a whole host of activities, determining how many drivers the firm needs, identifying when and how to alert drivers of projected demand, pointing a subset of drivers to locations to best meet demand, setting dynamic pricing, and more. The company has a software system showing tiny car icons crawling around a map of the city and little cartoon eyeballs scattered about representing every location where a customer is looking at the Uber app. Uber also produces heat maps of demand, but leveraging these insights is released with mathematical precision. Information is offered in targeted release. You don't want to give this to every driver at once, or you'll create an imbalance as too many drivers rush to cash in on surge pricing. Data even helps the firm expand into new cities. Each time a user opens an app, even if it's in a location Uber hasn't operated in before, data is collected showing user interest. The firm is prepared when they arrive in a new city, stating, "We can build a prediction of where our cars need to be before we even get there." Uber's massive data haul allows it to cut prices and attract drivers to power continued growth and expansion. Cheaper fares mean users will ride more, and even at lower prices, drivers will come out ahead if demand keeps them busy and constantly earning. One way of making Uber appear as if it's everywhere in the physical world is embedding Uber everywhere in the digital world. Uber offers an API that is essentially a published guideline on how other developers can embed Uber into their own apps. Regulatory concerns, the maintenance of a quality service, and the uncertainty of expanding in global markets where competitors exist are all challenges the firm will face. Uber's mission statement is transportation as reliable as running water, everywhere for everyone. Uber investor Shervin Pishavar describes the firm's potential, saying Uber is creating a digital mesh, a power grid which goes within the metropolitan areas. After you have that power grid running in everyone's pockets, there's lots of possibility of what you could build like a platform. Uber is incorporated in the empire building phase. The firm has experimented with several offerings, including a bike messenger service, a restaurant delivery service, and a same-day retail delivery service. It also purchased electric scooter sharing firm Jump for a reported $200 million and has a partnership with Lime, one of the largest firms in the scooter and bike sharing space. In addition to Google's big investment in Uber, another backer is someone else who knows a lot about serving customer demand by getting things from one location to the other, Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos. Uber is expanding same-day delivery even as Google does the same through Google Express. While Uber is incorporated into Google Maps, Uber also bought the mapping firm Descartes, a company once used by Google and which has sold services to major industry players, including BlackBerry, Verizon, OnStar, eBay, and Samsung. And while Google famously has a self-driving car initiative, now known as Waymo, that has seen several generations of test vehicles put thousands of miles on the road, Uber has begun to test its own self-driving car technology, developed at Uber's Advanced Technology Center in Pittsburgh, partnering heavily with advanced robotics experts from Carnegie Mellon University. The relationship was further strained with accusations that an Uber employee stole Waymo intellectual property and brought it to Uber. And Uber's experiments have it reach for the sky, literally. The firm has shown a prototype vertical takeoff and landing vehicle that's a cross between a helicopter and a prop plane. Bullish plans are for tests in 2020, commercial deployment in 2023, and autonomous piloting in a decade. While Uber has flouted regulation, effectively operating illegally in many markets, it has also worked with local officials to go legit and has a stated goal of becoming explicitly legal everywhere it operates. Uber's global expansion leverages corporate-provided technology, learning, and data insights, but teams in new markets act as ground floor entrepreneurs. Is the firm on a luxury lift to a $100 billion future, or is it an overvalued expectations wreck in waiting about to hit the wall of reality? In Uber's favor are network effects. Riders will choose apps with more drivers, and drivers will make money if they have more riders. If Lyft or other rivals remain competitive, Uber looks like more of a commodity and price competition will continue. The firm has long underpriced rides, and that'll have to stop. The firm has also made terrible investments. An ill-conceived auto leasing program thought to attract new drivers went on to lose money when many who couldn't get loans elsewhere turned out to be terrible at repaying loans. The firm's Uber Freight initiative is another cash drain, with nearly all revenue going to drivers as it tries to get off the ground. It is doubling down in online meal ordering, another cutthroat business that one analyst sees as running in the red until at least 2023, albeit one that provides drivers with additional income opportunities. It is both competing with and investing in electric scooter and bike sharing, another money-losing industry that could possibly cannibalize Uber's appeal for short-duration rides. And the firm, like many in hyper-growth, has been sloppy with excessive hiring and has had to cut jobs. Figuring out how big Uber will be and how much it is worth is a challenge. A cheaper service with faster car arrival times and assured payment, trust and convenience are causing expansion into markets underserved by conventional taxis and are prompting users to ride with Uber far more than they did with taxis or limos. This concludes Chapter 10. Thank you.